everybody. Thank you very much for coming. We've got a very crowded agenda, both for public participation and exempt today. So I would be very grateful if everybody could be as succinct and timely as possible, both members of the public and colleagues, please. Thank you to all members of the public, councillors and officers for joining tonight's meeting. Councillors and officers are reminded of their commitment to the civility and respect pledge and be mindful of tonight's meeting. Please be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. Just to highlight some key points of the meeting format, please can I ask everybody to have their phones switched off or to silent. Please remain seated unless you are invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. Toilet facilities are out in the corridor you entered through. The assembly point is outside the Royal Mail Castle office on West Street. In the event of a fire, the lift should not be used, and those who require a lift, officers will guide you in the correct process to exit the building. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with the key points as follows. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person, and as chair I will interject if needed to enforce this. When the public participation agenda item is introduced, please raise your hand to show you wish to speak, and I will invite you to speak. If you're comfortable standing, please do so in order to ensure you can be heard across the room. You don't need to state your name when you start speaking if you don't wish to. I'd like to ask that participants looking to leave the meeting wait for the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for all other participants. Members of the public looking to leave the building will need to be escorted out by a council officer. If the meeting goes into confidential session, a short 2-minute break will be held to allow members of the public to leave. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and to avoid interrupting where possible in order to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned that any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order and I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they will be ejected from the meeting by council resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this council meeting. So I'd like to just have a moment's quiet reflection so that we can gather our thoughts and leave behind the work of the day and everything else and remind ourselves that we're here because of the people of Seaford and for the people of Seaford. Thank you. I just got 2 further announcements. One is to remind everybody that it is St George's Day, and in fact I have just been across the road celebrating with members of the Royal Society for St George, and that is why Councillor Walraven is not with us, but it is a very important day for members of the Society and other people in the community, so we remember that this is a very important English day and celebrate accordingly. And on less cheerful note, I had a message to say that our much respected town crier, Peter White, was admitted to hospital over the weekend. They were hoping to discharge him on Monday, but I haven't had an update. So I'm sure that everybody will join me in expressing our very best wishes and hope for a full recovery and to see him soon. And we send much love and respect to him. Thank you. Right. So, first agenda item are apologies.
Thank you, Chair. As previously mentioned, Councillor Walraven is unavailable for personal commitments. Councillor Matthews has sent apologies for personal commitments, and Councillor Ruth Sturton sent apologies for childcare reasons.
Thank you. Right, second agenda item is disclosure of interests. To deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act of 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Are there any disclosures of interests by councillors at this stage? No. Thank you. Item 3, public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public physically in the meeting room in accordance with relevant legislation and Seaford Town Council policy. Do we have any members of the public who would like to participate? Right, so that's 2 people. Gentleman on the front row first and then gentleman on the back row second, if that's okay. Would you like to stand up, sir? Is that possible?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Chair and members of the committee. I'm very aware of the coastal situation at Hope Gap. I graduated as a civil engineer and specialised in maritime engineering, and I personally have been involved in many South Coast projects, including Burling Gap, Crooksmere Haven and New Haven locally. At Hope Gap, we are confronting an ever-eroding cliff line, and with rising sea levels and increased storminess, the situation is bound to deteriorate, hopefully not too rapidly. What I am putting forward is a very simple, albeit short to medium-term solution, which would allow residents of Seaford and beyond safe access down to the beach. I've prepared a scheme outlined on 2 drawings, which I'll probably share between you. Very, very basically, I'm proposing that the top flight of steps, which are currently being undermined, are replaced with a set of timber steps realigned towards the west. The remaining 2 flights of steps down to the beach are still in reasonable condition, and with the occasional bit of maintenance are likely to give us many more years of service. The new timber steps at the top could be built by the Monday Group or Men's Club, but would need to be seated in an excavated trench or gully cutting through the overlying head deposits of the soft brown material which lies on top of the chalk. This work could all be done by a small rubber track activator, which would then landscape afterwards. If you look at the drawings, you'll see that on one of them there's a slant dotted line on drawing number 1, and it was my way of showing the side elevation of the steps from the cliff top to the beach. It's not to be confused with their actual alignment. Drawing number 2 shows the realignment of the new timber steps some 45 degrees to the west. I have read the report by HOP and understand their conclusions, but members of the committee, do please be aware that any consultant working in the maritime environment knows the risks and hedges his bets accordingly when having to meet current code of practice, European standards for any structure that they design on the coast. In other words, their schemes are bound to be costly. If we were to go back to Hensley Oral Partnership with a scheme such as I have shown, along with a clause perhaps allowing them to relax codes of practice in current standards, i.e. relieving them of any subsequent long-term liability, then I'm sure that they're prepared to draw up a mini-contract and a couple of drawings allowing you to attain a contract in line with your minor works conditions. Meeting any environmental issues here, I suggest, could be done by yourselves negotiating directly with South Downs National Park and English Nature. Incidentally, all of the work I've shown on the drawings is above the mean high water mark and is not on the foreshore, so would not require Crown or other marine approvals. I haven't mentioned anything about cost, but I'm pretty confident that all of the workshop on those drawings could be achieved for less than £50,000 and within a time frame of 4 weeks. Finally, I'd be very happy to sit alongside Hemsley Oral Partnership and discuss this option at no cost to yourselves if it helped Hope Gap Steps open again. Thank you.
Perfect time. Thank you. And I assume that is agenda item 21 that we were talking about. Okay.
Point of order, I couldn't quite hear what the figure was that was quoted.
50,000.
Is it 50?
Yeah. £50,000.
£50,000. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for all the work you put into that. It was very
Yeah,
informative.
thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman at the back. Thank you.
Hello there, I'm Norman and I'm here to speak at the same subject, basically Hope Gap Steps. Just to say that having been aware of their closure now for 3 years, we've all been trying our very best to say, let's find a solution, let's find a way. Peter's put forward a proposal. I've been told of other proposals of up to about £250,000 for a set of steps similar to Burling Gap that could go in there. In that site, it's a more expensive solution, probably more durable. I'm not an engineer, Peter is. In the course of the last 6 months since we last spoke about this, lots of people have come forward expressing their love of the area, how it would be great to have steps again, how past generations enjoyed the facilities of a set of steps there. Over 100 years, I believe, in the history of the Hope Gap. And future generations could also enjoy access and safe exit from Hope Gap. People can get cut off there by incoming tides. Visitors to this area from all over the world are not aware of walking around from Cookmere Haven. There's this wonderful seascape in front of them. They don't know what's happening behind. Incoming tide, they are cut off. The steps are the only way out. And I fear for an accident. I hope there's not one, obviously, but I fear there will be one. More and more visitors are coming down. I've walked around that corner myself. In the 4 years I've been doing beach cleans there, I've only ever got my feet wet once walking back because I know the tides. But it's been closed a couple of times and people just don't realise how quick that tide's coming in behind them, so the safety aspect is very important. But for all generations and for all people, all visitors, to be able to experience going down to the beach there, as has always been possible up until 3 years ago, we are asking that the council considers a way of finding, installing some new steps at Hope Gap. Peter's putting a proposal forward. I could bring forward a proposal of a set of steps very similar to Burling Gap, 1/3 the size, probably more expensive than Peter's, but there was a proposal that someone's put to me would be practical, durable, low environmental impact. They could be made locally from galvanised steel materials. We all know Burling Gap steps. Unfortunately, they've been closed. That didn't really help because of the cliff fall. But they're going to open again in 2 weeks' time to the public. And Wealdon Council have decided it was worth putting the money in to reopen the steps there. And I hope that we can all agree that it would be great. I know the finances are difficult, but it would be great if we could have some steps there, really, for everyone, for future generations, for school kids, for visitors, for locals, for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the information. I signed off Burling Gap Steps on Monday afternoon, and this bank holiday weekend. So I did sign them off. They've done a good job. Thomas has done an excellent job, and the damage was done by the cliff fall and not by the sea, as many people think they are. And that small repair, I think, just cost under £25,000. So they're quite expensive. And we carried further marine works on them with regards to putting a special type of marine paint on them towards the end of the year. So we can maintain the structural stability. And I've been involved with burn gaps for just nearly 15 years now, and it's a constant battle against the environment and the eroding cliffs. And South Downs National Park, their decision, be it for what it is to let the cliff take its natural course. So there's no sea defences there at all. So whatever we do at Hope Gap, and I do hope we do something, and I believe the Town Council is in contact with various structural engineers regarding this matter, will take this into consideration. It's a never-ending battle against the environment, which will unfortunately go on.
Thank you, yes. And I would also just note that there are several Town Council safety warning signs around Coast Guard cottages, warning people about the lack of access and exit. So it is very difficult to walk along that coast without noticing or being aware of the danger of it if you are mindful of the signs.
Well, just some more further, very, very quickly. When we're renewing the steps, we're going to contact the Coast Guards and the local constabulary and said, do you want the beach? Guess what? They walked along the front and they got stuck at Burn Gap, and look, I've got a crane there took inside an excavator. So the dog and his fellow was an excavator to bring them back up to the top of the. No matter what you do, people ignore signs, just get on with the regard. So anyway,
we will notice. Are there any further public participation comments before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay, thank you. So the next is agenda item 4, petitions. In accordance with the Town Council petitions policy, a standard agenda item to facilitate any public petitions being presented to and noted by full council. Please note that this will not prompt discussion of the petition at this meeting. Are there any public petitions? No. Thank you. Right, we'll then move on to minutes. To note the following minutes in the table. Where there are recommendations to full council within the minutes, these are subject to separate report elsewhere on the agenda, at which point the recommendation will be considered. So I am happy to propose the full council meetings myself of the 29th of January and the 18th of March. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Rutland. All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Anyone objecting? Any abstentions? No. Right. 5.2, assets and facilities. Councillor Hanlon, would you like to propose that? Okay. Would anyone like to? Thank you.
Thank you. All the best, everybody.
Thank you for your contribution.
Thanks, Norman.
All the best, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not being discussed, I assume. Hope it's not being discussed.
It's an exempt issue.
Exempt.
Yes, okay, all right. So, a seconder for assets and facilities. Councillor Bristow, thank you. Those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's accepted, thank you. Right, finance and general purposes. These cannot be agreed because the person who chaired them is not available. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 5.4 golf open spaces and climate of the 5th of March. Could I have someone propose that? Councillor Bristow, thank you. Could someone second that? Councillor Meek. Councillor Meek. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? So those are passed. 5.5 personnel. I'm proposing to take both of these together, provided Madam Chairman is agreeable. So these are the draft minutes of the 6th of January and the 19th of March. So, Councillor
Mark.
Markwell.
I'm here.
Dysphagia has started early today. Okay, so you're proposing this.
Yes,
Could I
I am.
have a seconder, please? Councillor Rutland, thank you. Anyone? All those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? So those are accepted. Thank you. And finally, planning and highways. There are 4 dates of these. Councillor Warraven is not here, but Councillor Warman, you're happy to propose. Thank you. Anyone able to second? Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. So that's those are settled. So we're moving on to item 6, which is my update report, which is got a picture of the King and his friends meeting our area. Are there any questions or comments at all? It's been busy, that's all I can say.
Yeah, I just want to say, as I've been the OBR for the Seven Sisters National Nature Reserve for quite some time, it's fantastic to see it come to fruition and for you to be there as a mayor and everyone else, of course.
It was a memorable day, and I'm delighted that Peter White, our town crier, was able to attend and celebrate the 3 cheers for His Majesty. So it was a very important, memorable day. Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, can you, in the minutes, can it be noted that obviously the King Charles V was actually in the environment, including Seaford and the National Park and so on, and the walk, and but at the moment it stays in the agenda, but it's not necessarily in the minutes. So I don't know if that can be noted, because obviously the importance of having the King in the town, who doesn't really, whoever the King of the day is, doesn't normally visit that often. That's what I was going to say. So, and also. And by the by, I did visit him personally with Prince Charles when Diana was alive about 31 years ago. So, thank you.
But do we have any comments about? I thought it is in the official register, is it not? Well,
yeah, just know that the King was here.
I mean, he visited. Coast Guard, he walked to Coast Guard cottages and then left at South Hill Barn where he picked up his helicopter. So he was technically on town council land. Yeah.
That's how it gets noted, that's what I started saying.
When Georgia writes the minutes up and she talks about what councillors talked about, she can make sure that it mentions the fact that the King was present. So it's in the minutes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's in years to come, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So I shall propose my own report. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sturton. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's passed. Right. Moving swiftly on to the town clerk's report.
Thank you, Chair. I've tried to run through a number of high-level strategic matters. Obviously, it can't cover everything we do. It's just a flavour, snapshot, and I welcome any questions.
Councillor Duval.
Thank you. Item 1.12, page 18. The first closure is scheduled for mid-May, that's a couple of weeks' time, and we've still not been notified of the dates of the closure. And it says that officers will ensure councillors are kept up to date, but I'd like to know how Seaford Town Council is going to keep residents up to date with the closure, because people are going to need to plan ahead if that exit from Seaford is closed. And also we talked about traffic lights at Alfredston to mitigate the problems that we anticipate coming. Have we got anything back from East Sussex County Council about that? Thank you.
Okay, so through the chair, just to clarify, the first closure is supposed to be in June. The meeting we're going to have with the stakeholder group is in mid-May. That's going to take place in this building, and it's going to include the other town and parish clerks and other community organisations that are going to be affected. When we met with them, they were still at the phase of working out the closures, the dates and so on, and couldn't give me any information as to when it would be closed, how often and so on. And my understanding is that they're going to come to that meeting in mid-May and explain that to everyone there, so that we can then tell councillors, and obviously we'll make sure we use our comms channels to pass that information on. But at the moment, all the information I know is what's in that paper.
Thank you.
Councillor Bristol.
Thank you,
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Sorry, the lights at Alfriston.
So,
The traffic lights at Alfriston.
so we asked about the traffic lights at Alfriston. I wouldn't say it seemed to be something that they had in mind, but we did make the point that anyone that lives east of Seaford is unlikely to use the official diversion to drive all the way to New Haven and then come back on themselves. And I think it's going to be one of those issues where we need to try and perhaps persuade that although that is the official diversion, there needs to be some mitigation for people that decide to go through Alfriston, and also Lullington and Littlington and all those other rat runs that are going to be found to try and avoid having to go all the way around.
Yes. Councillor Markwell. Oh, sorry. Councillor Bristow, and then Councillor Markwell, and then Councillor Dunn.
I wanted to quickly highlight 1.19, the new golf course website, which has come through since the last GOSCA meeting, and thank officers for completing that work. I think it's really, really good. It does the course, which is so popular and does so well, a lot of justice, and really feel like it's setting a great course forward, so that's really good. And also to congratulate the town clerk on his silver qualification formally.
Councillor Markwell.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Debar, for bringing forward the Alfriston issue. I just want to request that for any changes in routes, that highways put very, very good signage up, because when we've had road closures in Alfriston before now, the road hasn't actually been really closed. People have been completely confused by the way that they signpost closes in Alfriston or not closed during Alfriston. And so I do think this is going to be so important, because it's such a massive area for people to have to go back on themselves or go to Littlington or wherever, that we must make sure that they're, I'm sorry to criticise, but the traffic management of these signs has been desperately awful in the past, and this is going to be so important. So if whatever leverage we can have to make sure that these signs work before that happens is going to be not asking the day after, when all our residents have been ringing us up saying we can't get through, we don't know what happens. It needs to be very, very clear, not just on the road, but also posted on our website and on the SCC website as well.
Through the chair, I mean, I agree with everything you've said, Councillor Markwell. We will obviously fight the corner as much as we can, the same as we did last time. Previously, we enlisted the help of Councillor Adeniji and Councillor Lambert and Councillor Sheen, and they took it up at a county council level and managed to get some mitigations. And if we need to do that again, then we'll do that again. But I can assure you that we'll fight as hard as we can to get the best result for Seaford residents, and also have the most amount of notice about when a road's going to be closed and how long it's going to be closed for. I think, you know, there's a view, isn't there, that perhaps if it's closed for one day, people might be able to live with that rather than it being closed for a week. So it's those sorts of considerations we need to put in place.
Thank you, through the chair, just thank you very much, Town Clerk. Just want to reiterate though, we need to be proactive, not reactive. And for lots of things that we've had happened in the roads recently, we've had to be very reactive about it. And also if that happens at a weekend or around holidays, it's very difficult for us to do anything about it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two questions. 1.13, just are we moving forward with this management agreement, maintenance and management agreement, how are we up for that? And then 1.17, this the car park attendance. The Facebook advert seems to be singular, car park attendant rather than attendant. So are we employing one or two? Because we did sort of felt we needed two. Sorry.
Through the chair, I mean, I can answer that. We are going to employ a number of casual staff so that we can cover it across the number of staff we need. That's the second question. In terms of the management and maintenance agreement, can I hand over to Peter or Sharon?
Yeah, if you're happy to.
We have met
with Seaford Community Partnership, and we are working through all areas of the Cliff Gardens to look at how that needs to be managed, any supporting evidence that we need for drains, how they're going to water the gardens or the planters. Yeah, so we're working towards it, and we have met, and we will be meeting again.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you again. Just, Madam Mayor, just following on what Councillor Mark was saying, and obviously that meeting's coming up in May. Obviously, a prime example where our definite communication was very good was the overnight closure as well. Started at 8 o'clock really, 259 between Newhaven and Anglesey, but last Tuesday and Wednesday, Monday and Tuesday, especially the second one, it wasn't communicated very well. They needed the second night. So, I think if you are at Birmingham and going on the A26 and your road is basically shut, you basically have to do a U-turn and go back again, and then you do your abs and so on. Which it was, I think it caught me and Olivia out. But obviously we know we need it. We know it's the overhead electric with the blue cones. We knew that was in relation to that. But the communication sometimes could be much better. So it's another recent example where things weren't necessarily communicated very well. Thank you.
Through the chair, I mean, we don't know about every road closure. We're not informed about everything.
Right.
So, you know, when we know, the community engagement officer will make sure it's posted on social media. But there are other times we aren't told, and we find out when the residents find out. Particularly, I suspect when it's emergency closure, that they can't tell us beforehand. I don't know about that instance, but
I think they're scheduled, but I don't know if you know any more.
Councillor Honeyman.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that if when you're having your discussions with the different people about the closures and everything, you can just make it very clear to them. If it says it's closing at 9 o'clock, it doesn't close at 8:45. Because that caught quite a few of us out, and it's a long way round.
through the chair, I mean, yes, so we will make that point clear. I think there's one other thing I haven't mentioned as well, which is in relation to NHS transport.
Yes.
Because ambulances need to use that route. So we already have asked them to liaise with the NHS and see whether or not for a period they could be taken to Brighton instead of Hastings. And they left that, they were going to take that away and explore that as an option. So the things that were raised a year ago with Councillor Adeniji have been raised with East Sussex. I just don't know whether or not all of those are going to be seen through.
Can I just add that I was going to raise about emergency vehicles of all kinds, not just NHS, and also the buses, because a lot of people rely on the number 12 buses, and if they're going to be disrupted, then people need to know, because you know their livelihoods, their jobs may be affected as well, not just acutely ill people or ambulances or fire engines or something. So it is really important. It's an arterial road, and disrupting that for more than a couple of hours is really going to affect the South Coast economy.
Through the chair, I had a meeting, not a meeting about this, but I was at a meeting this morning where I met and talked to the clerks of Alfriston Parish and Newhaven Town Councils. And they are all coming to the meeting in mid-May, and we've all agreed that we're going to have to work together to try and make sure that how those three areas are affected alongside, you know, Cuckmere Valley Parish Council, East Dean and Friston Parish Council, and the other councils are all going to try and work together to try and make sure that we look after the residents as best we can.
Councillor Taylor.
Has any thought been given to inviting our MP to that meeting, because he does have access to the transport ministers. He's very active around the 259 issue, Bishopston Junction, all of that. And you know, it might be worth just at least informing him and seeing whether there's anything he would like to participate in, or you know, press on at a high level.
Through the chair, I mean, I'll take on board what you say, and I will inform him of that meeting. What I would say is it's not our meeting, we're hosting it, but it's the meeting that's been organised by East Sussex Highways.
Right.
And we are basically a stakeholder, we're just offering our space for it.
Okay.
But there's nothing to stop me, you know, informing the MP about the meeting, and he might decide that he should come anyway, even if he's not invited.
Yeah.
Any further questions for the Town Clerk? Okay. If not, could I have a proposer for the Town Clerk's report, please? Councillor Horrow. Seconder, please. Councillor Taylor. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Right, we're moving on to item 8, Town Council Working Group reports. Who's talking to this? Has anyone heard anything to present?
It's reports from any working groups that there is, if councillors want to talk about their work on the working group.
Do any colleagues want to talk about their work on the working groups? Councillor Sturton?
Very briefly, there is a working group on concessions which is currently deliberating and will report in due course. Councillor Martin.
Councillor Markwell?
Yeah, do you want me to stand up? Okay. Yeah, just to say, also we have the health stakeholders working group. We have a meeting next week. We have our last meeting in January. If anybody wanted to go, they need to inform the civic office, please. And just to say on the agenda, we brought together a whole panel of people that are involved both in health, education, voluntary and community sectors that look after the youth of Seaford, and we're going to be talking about issues and concerns around that topic. So it should be a very exciting meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
Through the chair, in coming weeks we will be reconvening the strategic plan working group, because you'll remember that we need to review that in October, and so to prepare for that we need to have some meetings to agree on progress and what other work needs to be done so that we can review it in October.
We don't need to have a vote really, do we? Because we've got one. Okay. Right, we move on to item 9, outside body representative reports. Does anyone want to update their colleagues on work they may be doing with outside bodies? Councillor Bristow and I attended the management committee of the Seaford Head Local Nature Reserve on the 16th of April, which is it only meets twice a year, but it's quite interesting because it has such a varied group of people, local botanists and natural history people and ornithologists and representatives from Natural England and the National Trust. There is concern that the biodiversity is decreasing, and that generally the area of special scientific interest is deteriorating. And I think this ties in with a paper that we find later in the agenda, that there are concerns that we are beginning to lose the battle with nature.
Just to add to that,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair, for starting that one off. The minutes from those informal meetings are actually going to be posted on the internet from now on our website. So there will be more of a formal record going forward for anyone who's interested to read those.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, Councillor Rutland.
Just to say, myself, Councillor Markwell and Councillor Meek, we're all with the Chamber of Commerce for the breakfast meetings, and there is an excellent relationship between the Town Council and the Seaford Chamber of Commerce. It's very interactive pretty much all of the time. At the last breakfast meeting, our MP turned up and gave a very interesting talk, which everyone enjoyed. And yeah, it's a very good relationship between the Council and the Chamber of Commerce. So that's my update on that.
Thank you. Councillor Meek.
Can I just say, thank you, Chair. Trees for Seaford, I'm the outside rep for that. Just to say that they've been doing a lot of good work with schools, particularly I think it's Annecy School and the Cutney House School, helping kids plant stuff and interacting with them, obviously with DBS checks and everything, but I think it's really good to encourage young people to get involved in being aware of their environment and actually proactively planting stuff.
I have indeed planted a tree at Cookmere House, so yeah, got my wellies wet. Thank you. Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, again. Yeah, recently as part of the Access New Haven Seaford, I went across the border to New Haven and visited the New Haven Fort, and you realise the issues of a historic building like the Fort, the issues you can have with those particular access issues all throughout the whole site. And I can see a lot of what we looked at will be ongoing for the rest of this particular season, so thank you.
Any further input from colleagues? Okay, well we'll move on to agenda item 10, which is updates from colleagues who are at district or county council level. Do we have any updates from our district council colleagues? Councillor Meek.
Not a huge amount. I mean, the problems we've got are obviously a lot of officers at Lewis District Council are having to deal hugely with LGR at the moment. So there's a lot of distraction with that. We know that assets are coming to this meeting later, and I think that's taking over a lot of people's concern. However, the Lewis District Council is still going ahead with an awful lot of installation of properties and looking to make the district more resilient, which is all to be recommended before it gets dissolved. And hopefully that will, as a legacy item, will mean that Unitary Authority will take over that, and there will be a good grounding for continuing that kind of work. As people know, the bin rollout has been fairly successful. There have been complaints that some bins are missed, but there's a very good reporting system, and I understand that people are sent out to recover those bins that are missed. And people should know that if they haven't got enough capacity in their bins, you can just ask for an extra bin. I had a neighbour of mine said, well, I've got a family of 6. I mean, you know, it's bound to be full over a 2-week period. But you could just ask for another bin. However, it won't. I think that the restriction is that they will only empty one bin at a time. But what it means is that if you have capacity, you know, over capacity at one particular weekend or something, you have somewhere to store it at least. It's a money-saving thing, but also it's to try and get people to recycle more and not to use so much packaging in the first place.
No, just for clarification, LGR is local government reorganisation.
Sorry, yes.
Just so that people watching the video are know what we're talking about. Thank you. Any further colleagues like to? Councillor Bristow.
Just a small add-on from the topic which Councillor Meek introduced of bins, that Tetra Pak cartons, so your milk cartons, fruit juice and so on, can now be put into household recycling.
Oh wow, excellent. These are all important because they're encouraging people to think about what they're using and what they're throwing out. So it's all very good in the right direction, and hopefully reducing the need for the black bins. Okay, any further comments, input from colleagues? Right, well then we'll move on to item agenda 11, complaints, freedom of information and appeals. Who is going to talk to this?
So I think in the absence of Isabel, obviously this is the standard report covering those various factors, and I'd welcome any questions.
Councillor Duba.
Thank you. Just a quick question, really. Why is item 1 and 2? Item 1 is 2 years old. Item 2 is a year old. Is there a reason why there's such a time difference here before we get resolution for people that are asking questions?
Sorry, through the chair. So, item 1, the view lease. The simple answer to that is when the lease was signed, there was a wrong and incorrect date put in place. So we can't send it out because it's inaccurate. One of the officers has been chasing our solicitors for over a year now, and there's a formal complaint process in place to get it's just simply a date change and get that amended. And that's what's holding that one up.
I don't know the answer. We can get Isabel to write to councillors to explain the reason why that is.
Thank you.
Any further queries? Can I have a proposer for item 11? Please, Councillor Dunn, seconded, Councillor Buchanan. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that will do. Okay. Item 12.
Well, not used, it's a non-user.
Right. Okay, well it's agenda item 13 in the pack, page 41. This is an update on the Fields and Trust programme and to decide if the full council wishes to proceed with Fields and Trust, which is something that has been previously agreed regarding Crouch, Salts Recreation and Martello Fields.
So I hope the councillors find this illuminating, but I don't have anything particularly to add, but I welcome any questions.
Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things. Yes, I recommend that the salts doesn't goes down that route at the moment. It's too much going on that particular site. So I agree with the officer's report on that recommendation. The issue with Martello Fields, is it going to be more than one application because you've got roads going through it, or does it not quite work like that? You've got public roads and you've also got Cliff Gardens. So I don't know if Cliff Gardens is going to be included as part of this or not, because it's on the same site as such. So I don't know if that's being considered at this stage. So there's my questions. Thank you.
I'm not entirely clear on whether there need to be two applications. I think essentially because it's under one deed, or
sorry, through the chair, Fields and Trust are aware that the Martello Fields would be one application.
Right.
There are a number of land titles affected because there's like a jigsaw down there. But they're aware of the boundary of what we want to put into Fields and Trust. So the whole thing would be one application, but it would exclude the road and other factors.
Councillor Reid.
Yes, Chair, thanks. I mean, I've been all in favour, Madam Chair, of Fields and Trusts, and I was a little bit kind of worried when I read about the negotiations we might have to go through in order to be able to do what we might want to do with things that we hold. And that worries me a little bit. And I heard a colleague at Lewis District Council saying, oh, you don't want to do that, because you might have real problems. But then I looked at it again and I thought, well, there are quite a lot of, there's a little bit of leeway for doing certain buildings, providing it doesn't go over 20% of the total area, things like that. And I did notice, I think we've all had this letter from a concerned resident saying, please put it into Fields in Trust because it's the only secure way of protecting them. So I'm a little bit, I haven't made up my mind particularly about the salts. I think the other two are probably fine, but I think the salts, but also it's to do with the fact that we haven't quite got our salt strategic plan sorted out in full, and I don't know what we might want to kind of envisage. So I don't know if it would be worth holding off from that and putting it in a bit later when we've made a bit more decision, but I'm open to persuasion from anybody else. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really, really pleased to see this come forward, and thank you for the additional information to bring us right up to date on it. I too, as Councillor Meek, am aware of some nervousness by senior officers at Lewis District Council to do with Fields in Trust. Given my experience with the Crouch and campaigning to have that kept for the community some years ago, and actually being the one who dug out the agreements that at the time the town council staff, I believe, were not aware of, and the covenants. I think those covenants and the essence of those are very important to preserve going forwards. And I've really been wrangling my head about whether it's, I think for the Crouch, absolutely, Fields in Trust is the right way to go. I think there is enough leeway in it, and I think the balance of finance and risk is there, that we don't want to leave this open, particularly with basically no other good protections, local green space. It's good to have, but it's not something that's a given going forward. The salts, I'm minded to ask some challenging questions to see why we wouldn't want to put it in, because in my understanding, and I know there's still a working group on this, but the flavour of our strategic plan for the salts, or our development plan for the salts, is that we keep it as sports and recreational facilities. I just wonder, hypothetically speaking, for example, if we needed to take down a building or perhaps put up a building somewhere on that site, what the likely process and view of Fields and Trust might be about that, and whether the officers can give any steer on that, and what is really the nub of it at the salts, because we're going to be changing administration, we're having local government reorganisation, we've then got unitary councils, we might lose the covenants, there's a lot of uncertainty coming forward. And for me, and given obviously we are products of our experience to a certain degree, I really wouldn't want to leave the salts too open, but I understand that we want to be able to fulfil and keep flexible enough to fulfil our needs for the community. So perhaps if the officers can give any steer on structures, that would be really good.
Sorry, can I just mention that members of the public, you're very welcome to stay, but we're not being able to hear everything that councillors are saying because of the background noise. If you could just be aware of that, I'd be very grateful. Thank you. Town Clerk.
So through the chair, I mean, I don't think, from my perspective, I don't think that what we're going to do in the Salts redevelopment plan has been finalised yet, because we still need to consult with residents, we still need to find out what the options are, and I think we as officers are just nervous to constrain what we could do, because 2 years ago, before we did it, we put it into Fields and Trust, when we could easily put it into Fields and Trust once that's done. And I think that's the reason why there's a reticence on the part of officers to do that one now, whereas I think that for the Salts and Martello Fields, there's no proposed plan to do a redevelopment for those two, so it doesn't make any sense. Sorry, Crouch and Martello Fields, there's no need to hold off on those two, but with the Salts I just feel, we wouldn't want to get to a stage where we consult with the public and say this is what we want to do, and then be told by Fields and Trust we can't do it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think that's the extent of the...
Specifically on your question on the buildings, it would depend on the size of the building and exactly what the building is being used for. So it's a complicated answer, I'm afraid, depending on a lot of different things.
Thanks.
Councillor Horrow? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dunn was first, and then Councillor Horrow. I do apologise.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I do echo the sentiments of the committee this evening, Councillor Mead, and what Councillor Bristow has said. The trouble with the Salts is it's very layered, lots of different things there. It's much more of a detailed piece of land that we own. 6.1 with this added complication for the fact of the Landlords and Tenants Act of 1954, meaning that the rugby, is it the rugby club? Sorry, the Salts and the cricket club leases, meaning that Fields in Trust would have to probably approach them as well, so that puts extra layers and complications. So I do echo everybody's sentiments, and I suppose really it's to go with what our officers recommend, because in light of the Salts development plan, but I think it's a really tough one, because you don't want to not do it. So can I ask, through Madam Mayor, can we come back to the Salts at a later date? We could put it in at a much later date if we ticked a lot of other boxes.
Through the chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair. We're not recommending it never gets done. It's just that we should do the Salts development plan first, and then move it into Fields and Trust, like the other two will already be, if that's the way you vote.
Sounds very sensible.
Councillor Honeyman? No, sorry, Councillor Horrow.
Councillor Dunn's point was very similar to mine.
Okay. Councillor Horrow, thank you.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. I mean, one thing is missing from here, but ultimately, Fields of Trust can be reversed. I know there's complications doing that, depending on what the situation is. From what I've read, and I can prove and deal with it out of fear, they can be reversed. It's not perpetual. It says in perpetual. There are certain situations where it can be reversed. So I just want that for the record. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Through the
Sorry,
chair.
well that goes against what's in the paper.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But
can I ask where you got that information from?
From the website. their website.
Through the chair, there is a way that you can withdraw a piece of land, but you have to offer a replacement.
That's right, you have to do that.
Which is unfeasible to think where we would find any replacement land from. And in the absence of being able to replace it, you couldn't get it out. Which is what the paper is.
Yeah, that's what, so it's a technicality. There's certain scenarios that could happen. It's very extreme, though.
But I think the paper does say it's reversible, but in these circumstances it's almost totally unfeasible. So I think we have to make an informed decision on the basis that this would be irreversible in practice.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah, that's a better word, yeah.
So I think that's the important point. And for officers to be able to bring this to our attention before we unwittingly commit something that may be, undesirable in the future, I think, is a good thing for us to know to make an informed decision with the very best information we've got now. Councillor Stone.
I understand the reasons officers have for not wanting to put the salt into fields and trust at present, and they are good reasons. I just want to briefly consider a counter-argument, which is that, just feeling the mood of council's meeting today, we are a council that, at least in principle, is sympathetic to the idea of fields and trust. In another year there will be an election. Who knows what will happen? Whatever happens will be the will of the people, but the will of the people might will something quite different from what they will today. Odysseus, before he encountered the sirens, had his sailors bind himself to his mast and had his sailors pack their ears with wax. And the warning is that, if we don't pack our ears with wax now, we might regret in 2 or 5 or 10 years not having done so.
Councillor Markwell, we're in classical overload here.
I'm sorry, I can't
overload as opposed to
No, I can't follow that actually. Thank you very much, Councillor Stone. I just want to remind ourselves that we have not had, I've taken on board what's being said, we haven't had a decent discussion about the salts. We really haven't. In the strategic plan, we are developing the salts. We have no idea how we're going to develop it. We haven't sat down and really thought about it. I think it would be a mistake at this point to put it into something that we don't know what the implications are going to be. I do think that officers are going to be spending time anyway, and our resources, in getting at least 2 out of 3 of these fields in trust, which is good. And also they'll have the experience of how that felt and what they're getting into. So before we get to the point of actually addressing the salts, which is, as colleagues have said, multi-layered, complex, and may need a lot more consideration, that it's not a straightforward piece of land or community, our community's expectation. We do need to go down, I preferably feel we need to go down that path of consultation first.
Any Councillor Moran?
Yeah, just
Councillor Borman.
to agree with Councillor Markwell, I think if we're going to, we need to explore the implications of this in more detail if we're going to commit to putting the salts in fields and trust, in my view, which is why I support the officer's recommendation, because I think our stakeholders need to be able to have some input before we make a decision like that.
Thank you. Councillor Borman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously in the report there's a lot about the rugby club lease and the cricket club lease. I just want to check with the leases on the Crouch, obviously football club and the bowls club. Actually, what are the difference? Because usually most of our leases are kind of the same things and they're not mentioned in this report.
No. Through the chair, I think it's my understanding is that the lease on the Crouch's lease has its own title area. My understanding is, so it could be carved out if that's the case. But at this stage, this was really just looking at reasons why we officers didn't feel that the salt should be in the fields and trust.
So we could have the same issue.
We could have that issue
with the Crouch
I don't
as
know
well,
the answer,
and actually maybe we should be looking more into the details before we actually agree to any of it going into Fields and Trust.
But it hasn't been alerted to me by the Assets and Contracts Manager that we do have that issue. So I don't think it's likely, but I don't want to say it's not if I don't know.
Any further comments or queries before we move to a vote? So, just to remind myself what we're being asked to vote on. So, we are being asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Meek, seconded Councillor Horrow. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against that? Any abstentions? Thank you. Right, and secondly, we're being asked to agree whether an application should be made in Fields and Trust with the deeds of dedication brought back to full council for approval in due course. So we need 3 votes. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's best if you do one at a time.
Yes, I think we need to do one at a time. So, 2A is a proposal for the crouch to be brought in to be an application to be made for Fields and Trust for the crouch. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Bristow, a seconder, Councillor Sturton. Those in favour for the crouch? Thank you. Anyone against? Anyone abstain? Councillor Dubat against?
Yeah, until we know what Councillor Bowman said about the leases, I think we should hold off.
Anyone abstaining about the crouch? Thank you. Right, so that is passed. So secondly, B, this is Fields in Trust application for the Salts Recreation Ground. Do I have a proposer for that? No proposer. So we have no proposal, that is not going forward. And thirdly, a proposal for Fields and Trust for Martello Fields. Proposer, Councillor Horrow, seconder, Councillor Duba. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that is unanimous. Thank you. Right, moving on. What I'm going to do is we will suspend standing orders after the exclusion of press and public. I'm happy to escort the ladies members of the public. Yes, we haven't finished, but we will be proceeding with that. Okay, thank you. So, item 15, the approval of a 5-year countryside stewardship agreement. So we're being asked to consider the recommendation within the report and move on vote on the motions. Peter.
So I would just reiterate what is in the paper, that we do have an obligation to get the SSI out of declining status. And the Countryside Stewardship Scheme provides us with the funding to do that work. I welcome any questions.
Any queries from colleagues? Councillor Duba, then Councillor Dunn, please.
You can. Right. Thank you. I just wondered, is there any guarantees that we'll get this money? Is there any chance we're going to be paying out £100,000 and not getting anything back?
As long as the work is carried out, so there will be a signed agreement with Natural England and the RPA, and as long as you carry out the works, then you get the money back. If you fail to do the works, you have to pay the money back. But that's sorry, I won't be clear. On the capital works, they will only refund us the money once we've done the works. So, but they, obviously, if we haven't done the works, they won't pay us.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Councillor Dunn.
That's okay, I was
No.
pointing to Councillor Dunn.
Okay.
Sorry.
Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you. I just think it's worth just reiterating this is actually a legal requirement. We have to do this
and force of law.
So, there is a legal requirement to take actions to get, when you are the owner of the SSI, you have a legal obligation for it not to be declining. So therefore we need to get it into improving or recovering, I think it's actually the official term. So yes, we have a legal obligation to do it. If we weren't to do the work, then Natural England does have the power to enforce us to do that, which, if it goes through a number of stages, can result in unlimited fines and potentially criminal conviction.
Let's not do that.
Worth knowing.
Yes, that would be better. Don't do that.
That does change the flavour of things.
Yes,
I mean, this is not a choice, is it? Thank you.
Through the chair, I would say, just to reassure councillors, we're not at the stage where they're saying, if you don't do it now, we're going to start fining you. But we're trying to take preemptive action so that we don't get to that stage in the future.
And I think just to reiterate that point, the kind of comments that were being made by ornithologists, Seaford Natural History Society, they all point in decline. And then every so often they will have a good year and find that more nesting birds or what have you have been found. But generally there is a feeling of stewardship, and if we don't take action now, we will regret it in the future. So I think now is the time to protect the environment and ensure that we are spending public money wisely.
Can I just add to your comment? So one of the particular features is the chalk grassland, and that is one of the features that is in particular decline, and it is scrubbing over and the bramble is taking over, and that's one of the things we really need to start targeting.
Cows, yes. And I was also very surprised just how much volunteer work goes into the Seaford local reserve. It was really educational to find just how helpful and well motivated some of our residents are in these very important, quite mundane tasks, but actually keeping the habitats in good order so that this wildlife flourishes is really very important. So I think we'd just like to say thank you to our residents as well, because this habitat protection is really very important. Yeah, okay. Any further questions or queries before I move to a vote? Thank you. Right, so we're being asked to note the contents of the report. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Dunn, seconder, Councillor Meek. Those in favour? Thank you very much. Anyone against or any abstentions? So that's carried. To approve that the Town Council enters in and executes a 5-year countryside stewardship hire TO agreement, that's quite a mouthful, as recommended by the Gulf Open Spaces and Climate Action Committee. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Bristow, seconder, Councillor Buchanan, thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's passed too. And to approve the associated spend in capital works to be partly reclaimed from the Rural Payments Agency as recommended by the Gulf Open Spaces and Climate Action Committee. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Bristow, seconder, Councillor Rutland. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So we've agreed that as well. So, moving swiftly on to item 16, which is the interim update on the annual governance and accountability return, or the AGAR. Who is speaking to this?
Thank you, Chair. So this is the Finance Manager's report that provides a thorough update on the AGAR for the 24-25 year. And would welcome any questions.
Any queries? Silence. Right. Councillor Markwell.
Thank you very much, Chair. May I just say what a frustration this is, really. Thank you very much for your patience, officers, because clearly this has been going on a bit long, isn't it, really? I don't think there's anything else we can do to hurry it up. No. Just thought I'd ask. Where is it going to be the AGAR in June 2026?
sorry, I'd advise we need to be careful because this is there's confidentiality
Okay,
matters.
but I'm just saying, you know, it's going to, because of the delays with this, presumably it's going to delay the 2026 as well. So we're kind of, you know, it seems to be cumulative. Just making a point.
Any further comments or queries? Okay, so we're being advised to consider the contents of the report and move to a vote. So we're being asked to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Horrow, a seconder. Councillor Borman. Those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. So that one's passed as well. And count item 17, devolution considerations. This is page 59, public update. Over to you, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the public update version of a paper, of a similar paper that we're going to discuss under exempt session, and it's to try and make sure that it's in the public domain. The process we're going to go through, the framework, without the detail that at this stage is not able to be put into the public domain. And I'd welcome any questions.
Queries, comments? Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Number 3.1, public consultation, theme to public consultation. Is that after we've submitted our assets back to this district? And where does that fit into this? I know we've got a paper coming.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't quite see where it fits in.
Sure. I mean, I think I could probably direct you just to 3.1 to talk about the fact there's not really a set timeline in the process. But it's at a point where we've decided what an asset we want, but we haven't made an actual decision so that we can consult and there be a meaningful consultation.
Understood. Okay.
Which helps to inform whether or not we actually want to go ahead.
Go ahead with it, right, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Mick.
Thank you, Chair. Just so that the public know, we as councillors were asked to highlight assets that we thought would be worth asking for. And what we've now been presented now with is a much more detailed submission. I have to say, what we were presented with initially, I don't know if other councillors found this, a lot of it was very confusing because it was just a verbal description. And I myself have been quite surprised that, oh, that's where that bit of land is, because I couldn't know exactly where it was. So what we actually voted for may not be representative of what we actually wanted, certainly speaking personally. And now I find that there's a parcel of land that's next to something that I thought actually included it, and it didn't, and then you've got two next to each other, and you think, oh, well, I would have asked that one as well. But I guess we can maybe do that as we go forward. But it's been quite confusing, and I have to say that there's been a considerable lack of information given to us, and that's why it's taking a bit of time, and I've been struggling to identify what we're talking about half the time. Thank you.
It's known and unknown unknowns, really, isn't it? Yes, it's a wrong spell. Any further queries or comments? Councillor Rutland.
While we're still in public part, I would actually just commend the officers for the sheer extent and breadth of everything that we've covered in this report. Yeah. There's a lot of balls being juggled and a lot of plates being spun, and I certainly think we are a lot more informed than we've been in the past. So well done, officers. You're doing a fantastic job and we appreciate it. Congratulations.
I definitely second that. And it's very frustrating when you put a lot of time into things and then the goalposts have changed, as it were, and you have to go back and reassert things. So absolutely.
Well done. We're a lot better informed than we have been in the past, and we appreciate all the hard work that's gone into it. So well done.
Right. If there are no further comments or queries, we're just going to move to the vote to note the contents of the report. Could I have a proposal, please? Councillor Rutland, seconded Councillor Borman. Those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Right. So So finally, we are now moving to the exclusion of press and public. So I'm moving that in accordance with the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the discussion for the next items of business for the reasons that are set out below. The resolutions of the items will be recorded publicly in the minutes of this meeting. The proper officer considers that discussion of the following items, and these are agenda items 19 to 23 inclusive, is likely to disclose exempt information as defined in the Local Government Act 1972 and data protection legislation, and may therefore need to take place in private session. The exempt information reasons are given alongside each item below. Furthermore, in relation to paragraph 10 of Schedule 12A, it is considered that the public interest in maintaining exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Do I have a proposer for this, please? Councillor Dunn, a seconder, Councillor Rutland. Those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? So we will now have an exempt session. We're going to have a break for 5 minutes.